Ajay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. How are y'all?
Yeah, good, doing good. Thank you. How are you?
All good. How is Sanchari?
Yes, she's good. She's joining in another 2 minutes.
Okay. I got your answer paper.
Yeah.
So we'll wait for a few more minutes. We still have 3 minutes to begin.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vardhini. How are you?
Yeah, fine. Sanam, how are you?
Fine, fine.
हरे कृष्ण माता जी।
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so it's 11:30 here, probably 8 p.m. in India. And
Yeah.
some of you are from different parts of the world. So anyway, it's time to begin now. So I welcome all of you to this systematic study of the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Very happy to see you all. Very happy to see the enthusiasm. I hope that we can go all the way and complete 18 chapters. It can be quite a challenge. And let's hope that all of us can go all the way and finish the course. So does anybody have any question with regard to the course before we begin? You can ask now. No questions with regard to the course? How many of you have read the Bhagavad Gita before?
माता जी, Actually, I recite the Bhagavad Gita 2 times.
You recite the entire Bhagavad Gita twice a day?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, Gita Jayanti है ना? Gita Jayanti.
हाँ,
उसी
okay.
टाइम इसका ना इधर ज्यादा भक्त लोग है, भक्त वृक्ष है.
अच्छा,
हर दिन वो क्लासेस होता है और वो क्या है ना, ईशोपनिषद, भागवत गीता, भागवतम.
oh, कहाँ पे हैं आप?
दुबई, यूएई.
हाँ, okay, okay, okay. Very nice.
एक बार अमरेंद्र दास प्रभु जी मालूम है माता जी?
हाँ, हाँ.
हाँ, वो 2 बार आया इधर. और नित्य सेवनी माता जी, नित्य सेवनी माता जी भी है. वो उसका क्लास को भी गया.
ओहो, अच्छा, अच्छा, बहुत nice.
एक्चुअली मैंने सोच रहे वो जल्दी, क्योंकि अब भक्ति वृक्षा क्लास में एक दिन में एक श्लोका, एक हफ्ता में एक श्लोका जा रहे. इतना है तो मेरा लाइफ टाइम पूरा होता है भगवत गीता फिनिश करने के लिए. मैंने सोचा वो भगवान को थोड़ा मुझे भी एक अपॉर्चुनिटी दे दो. क्या है ना, अभी डेली है तो भगवत गीता आप बोले ना 1.5 ईयर में आप पूरा श्लोका 18 चैप्टर से क्लास हो जाएगा. ऐसा है तो अच्छा होता है ना.
हाँ, right. Okay. Anybody else has read the Gita before? Isha. Okay.
I read it in your class, so I've read certain scriptures of it. I haven't read the entirety of it, but it's been very enlightening, so I'm glad to be back.
Okay, I'm glad to see you too.
Thank you.
Where are you currently?
I'm in Boston.
Sorry?
I'm in Boston.
Ah, you're in Boston. Okay. Anybody else has read the Gita before?
No.
No?
Hi.
Okay. Okay, so if anybody has any questions about the course, you can ask now. Otherwise, we'll begin with our class. Okay, let me share the screen.
Shri Krishna ma'am, actually I want to share one thing related to Gita. From my childhood, at my home I have these 2-3 books of Gita, but I never read Gita. It's a holy book, and I just did my this ritual, and just I never opened Gita. But I have my 2 years old, and they inspired me to read Gita, and I just saw this link in Facebook. I joined and I bought Gita, Bhagavad Gita, and before me, my 2 daughters, they have started reading Gita.
Oh.
So, and I'm from Gujarat, Krishna's place.
Wow.
I'm so excited now to know about Gita, and I literally want to learn Gita.
Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. So
and thank you to my daughters. Yes, they are the inspiration for me to study about Gita.
Yes. Sometimes our children teach us.
Yes, and they have started reading this Bhagavad Gita. After I joined this, I bought this Gita, and they have already started reading this.
Okay, very nice. Very nice. Very happy to see the book, and very nice, very inspiring to hear that your daughters are teaching you.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Anybody else wants to say anything? So we have some 70 registered participants for slot 1, and so far only 25 have joined. Hopefully we should see more people joining in the next few minutes. But let's start with our invocatory prayers. We will begin each session by reciting some invocatory prayers. These prayers appear in the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita, and it's important to recite these prayers before every class to invoke auspiciousness. So I will say the prayers, and I request you to please repeat after me. And this is going to be the trend for every class. Okay, so let me share the screen so you can see the prayers. Can you all see?
Yeah.
Okay, so please repeat. Nama Om.
Nama Om.
Vishnupadaya,
Vishnupadaya,
Krishna Prestaya,
Prestaya,
Bhutale,
Bhutale,
Srimate,
Srimate,
Bhaktivedanta,
Bhaktivedanta,
Swamin,
Swamin,
Iti Namine.
Iti Namine,
Namaste,
Namaste,
Saraswati Deve,
Saraswati Deve,
Gauravani,
Gauravani,
Pracharine,
Pracharini,
Nirvishesha,
Nirvishesha,
Shunyavadi,
Shunyavadi,
Paschatya,
Paschatya,
Deshatarine,
Deshatarine,
Om Jnana,
Om Jnana,
Timirandasya,
Mirandasya,
Jnananjana,
Jnananjana,
Janana,
Shalakaya,
Shalakaya,
Chakshur,
Chakshur,
Unmilitam Yena,
Unmilitam Yena,
Tasmai Shri,
Tasmai
Shri,
Gurave Namaha,
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 Shri Chaitanya,
Sri Chaitanya,
Manobishtam,
Manobishtam,
Sthapitam,
Sthapitam,
Yena Bhutale,
Yena Bhutale,
Swayam Rupa,
Swayam Rupa,
Kada Mahyam,
Mahyam,
Dadati,
Dadati,
Swapadantikam,
Swapadantikam,
Vandeham,
Vandeham,
Shri Guru,
Sri Guru,
Shri Yuta,
Sri Yuta,
Padakamalam,
Kamalam,
Shri Gurun,
Sri Gurun,
Vaishnavamscha,
Vaishnavascha,
Shri Rupam,
Sri Rupam,
Stagrajatam,
Sagrajatam,
Sahagana,
Sahagana,
Raghunathan,
Raghunathan,
Vitam,
Vitam,
Tamsajivam,
Jivam,
Sadvaitam,
Sadvaitam,
Savdhutam,
Sadhutam,
Parijana Sahitam,
Parijana Sahitam,
Krishna Chaitanya Devam,
Krishna
Chaitanya Devam,
Shri Radha Krishna,
Sri Radha Krishna,
Padan,
Don,
Sahagana,
Sahagana,
Lalita,
Lalita,
Shri Vishakhan Vitam Sa.
Vishaka, Vitam,
Hey Krishna,
Hey Krishna,
Karuna Sindhu,
Karuna Sindhu,
Dina Bandhu,
Dinabandhu,
Jagatpate,
Jagate,
Gopesha,
Gopesha,
Gopika Kanta,
Gopika Kanta,
Radha Kanta,
Radha Kanta,
Namostute,
Namostute,
Tapta Kanchana,
Apachana,
Gaurangi,
Gaurangi,
Radhe,
Radhe,
Vrindavaneshwari,
Vrindavaneshwari,
Rishabhanu,
Shabanu,
Tute Devi,
Devi,
Pranamami,
Pranamami,
Hari Priye,
Priye,
Vancha Kalpa,
Panchakalpa,
Ruvyascha,
Rubhasya,
Kripa Sindhu,
Sindhu,
Vya Evacha, Patitanam,
Tanam,
Pavanebhyo,
Pavanebhyo,
Vaishnavebhyo,
Vaishnavebhyo,
Namo Namaha,
Namo Namaha,
Shri Krishna Chaitanya,
Krishna Chaitanya,
Prabhu Nityananda,
Prabhu Nityananda,
Shri Advaita,
Sri Advaita,
Gadadhar, Shrivasati,
Sati
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
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 Krishna Krishna,
Hare Hare,
Hare Hare,
Hare Rama,
Rama,
Hare Rama,
Hare Rama,
Rama Rama,
Rama Rama,
Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
Okay. So before we go to the next part of the program, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Sri Radha Devi Dasi, and I'm a disciple of His Holiness Jai Pataka Swami Maharaj, who is a disciple of the founder Acharya of ISKCON, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Now there are different kinds of gurus, and one of those different kinds of gurus is a Shiksha. A Shiksha guru is one from whom we get knowledge. Okay, and anybody who's reading Prabhupada's Gita, Prabhupada's translations, and Prabhupada's commentary of the Bhagavad Gita shlokas is by default a Shiksha disciple of Srila Prabhupada. Because we are learning from his books, he becomes our Shiksha guru. We can have many Shiksha gurus in our lifetime. And because Prabhupada becomes our Shiksha guru by default, it's important that we remember Srila Prabhupada before we begin each session. Therefore, after the invocatory prayer, we will be remembering Prabhupada by a PPT and offer our respects to him and pray to him that may he give us the intelligence to understand the Bhagavad Gita in the right way. Okay, so the next part of the program is going to be a PPT where we will remember Srila Prabhupada. Can you all see?
Yes.
Take. Just now.
ಲೈಟ್ ಕಡಿ ಲೈಟ್ ಕಡಿ వచ్చానా Who is going to stop me by the way? I तेरी बात डिस्कस करने दे कुछ connecting to Sonia.
Mataji, can you mute all participants?
दूसरा एंकर त्रास क्यों नहीं कर दूसरा एंकर क्यों मत नस्ता तो अगर पोजीशन है तो सही हंगे लाइव असतात गाई कुणे कल कर का सांग कल कर का म्हणून मग सांग
Radha, just mute yourself. Can you mute yourself?
Okay, please mute yourselves, everybody. If you need to speak, then you can unmute yourself and then you can speak, because otherwise it's going to stop.
I think audio was not clear.
Oh, it was not clear, is it?
No.
I think there's a lot of disturbance because of
Actually, PPT is no audio, but your voice is okay.
Okay, fine. So I'll try to check that in the next class. Okay. So let's start with today's presentation. Can you all see?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So first of all, I would like to really thank you all from the bottom of my heart for having registered for this course and for showing your interest in learning this most confidential knowledge of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita as so let us begin by first of all reading the translation of a verse from chapter 4. Now we need some volunteers to help me read. Who can read the text from the screen? Can anybody help? Disha?
Yes.
Okay, Disha. Thank you. So can you read this text on the screen, please?
Boat of transcendental knowledge. Even if you are considered to be the most sinful of all sinners, when you are situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross over the ocean of miseries.
So we need to understand, first of all, why do we have to learn the Bhagavad Gita? Why should we learn this transcendental knowledge? So as for Krishna himself, what is the reason for us to learn this? Why should we learn this Gita?
To know who we are, what is the reason we are here, and we have to go back to ahead to the Krishna Loka, that is who is our transcendental father.
Yes, very nice. Okay. Anybody else has any other answers? Going by what we just read.
So it is basically to cross to cross over the ocean of miseries.
Yes, to cross over the ocean of miseries. What is referred to as the ocean of miseries? When Krishna says cross over the ocean of miseries, what does he mean? Cross over what? What
So
is referred to?
it's basically material life.
Yes, the material world or material life. Why is this material world considered to be an ocean of miseries?
Because in our life, so many attachments are there, and we are involved with attachments and relationships. So, and we basically forgot our purpose of life. So, that is the reason we should understand the Gita, to know about our purpose of life, and to overcome all our challenges and obstacles which we are facing.
But why is the material existence considered to be an ocean of miseries? What are the kind of miseries we come across in our material existence?
Birth, disease, old age, death.
Birth, death, disease, and old age. Yes. So what is the problem with birth, death, disease, and old age?
So whenever we are having any desires, will come into this world. So when actually our life starts in the mother's womb, that is even a misery, you know. Inside the mother womb is all blood, pus, muscles, everything is will be there. So we are in that womb for 9 months, which is also a kind of misery.
Okay.
So we will fight. We will almost spend 9 months and we will come out, and that birth will take place physically. Then again everything is a misery, you know. For a child, whenever he's feeling hungry, getting food, matlab it is a fighting for food. And when we are coming to some certain age, at that time we are trying to learn some things, that is a challenge for you. But when we are at the age of teen, like that, we are searching for something to achieve and to get the attraction, love, everything. When the age of 30, we thought we need house, good money, settled, marriage. But when we come to some 50 plus, like that, again children, marriage, we are every time just fighting for our only physical existence. But no one is knowing that this is just a temporary thing. Even I know, see, basically even I know everything, but I will not follow sometimes. I will be very unhappy whenever I will detach from the devotees. I will deviate. I felt very bad. This I discussed it to Bhakti Shah, Guruji, everyone also. Whenever I detach, because of this corona, almost 1 year, no proper attachment. Even they are giving online classes also, but we most like to go on temporary happiness, like watching TV or spending with children, eating something, cooking something. But so that's what we are go on running on the back of temporary things, which is a full of ocean of miseries. All the things, starting from mother's womb to till the death, everything. This is a full, completely everything is a misery. Even we are getting money, that is also misery. Whenever money comes, we will get more desires, we will get more problems. I don't think so, but of course, being a physical existence, we need to earn, we need to enjoy. But the thing is, we have to suppress our desires, and we have to control our emotions, taste, and 4 principles we have: no meat eating, no illicit sex, no smoking. So all those things, even I cannot control. Basically, from by birth, I am a vegetarian, but I'm not able to leave at least onion and garlic. But some people are great from the Western countries who are leaving their all habits. See, not even I'm not able to leave onion. For some days, I will do early morning. I will wake up 4 o'clock. That morning aarti, everything. 5 o'clock chanting something. After up to 7 o'clock, I will do. But immediately, this is the ocean of miseries.
Okay.
Even we know we are going through the direction only, wrong direction.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Sorry for taking your time.
No,
But
no.
when
no
this
problem.
topic, I
Yes.
was really happy to share more and more. If you give me 2 hours also, I like to share.
Yes, yes, of course. Thank you very much. So anyway, basically, material existence, it's described in the Shastras that there are threefold miseries that we come across in the material existence. What are these threefold miseries? It's described as Adhyatmika, Adi Bhautika, and Adi Daivika. Adhyatmika are the miseries that arise from our own mind and body. So our own mental stress, depression, our health issues, diseases, all this comes under the category of Adhyatmika. Then we have Adi Bhautika, miseries caused by other living entities. So it can be a mosquito bite, or it can be a terrorist or an antisocial element, the robbers and the thieves. When other living entities are causing us miseries, it is called as Adi Bhautika. And then the third category is Adi Daivika, miseries caused by natural calamities. So you have earthquakes, famines, floods, all these natural calamities come under the category of Adi Daivika. So basically in material existence, all of us, all living entities go through these threefold miseries of life: Adhyatmika, Adi Bhautika, and Adi Daivika. Okay. So in order to cross over this ocean of miseries, we need to take the boat of dash. Who can fill in the blanks? In order to cross over the ocean of miseries, we have to take the boat of dash. What is it?
Lotus feet of Krishna. Lotus feet of Krishna.
The boat of transcendental knowledge. As for what we read in 4.36, we have to take to the boat of transcendental knowledge. And that's the reason why we have to learn the Bhagavad Gita. Only when we take to the boat of the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita can we cross over this ocean of misery. Okay. So the ocean is compared to material existence and the boat is compared to transcendental knowledge. Okay. So now I have a question. How many of you think it's going to be very easy? And how many of you think it's going to be difficult? How easy or how difficult do you think it's going to be for us? Or what are the challenges that we are going to face during this course? What kind of challenges do you think we are going to face during this course?
It is easy to learn, but it's very tough to follow.
Very tough to follow. Okay. Disha, you are saying something?
Yeah, it's super difficult to detach ourselves from our material attachments. So I think that's going to be one of the biggest challenges we're going to face when trying to intake all of the spiritual knowledge.
Okay. Detachment is difficult. Anybody else? See, you all are talking about following this, but my question is to complete this course itself, just to listen to this, what are the challenges we are going to face?
First is the concentration.
Concentration, okay, because our mind, we get distracted very easily, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Lavanya. Anybody else?
And then the difference of the time zone. So
Time
many
zone difference. Okay.
So this is the
Internet
evening time for
challenges.
India people. So for a housewife, it would be difficult to manage the family at the same time when we go through this part.
Okay. It's 8 to 10 in India, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Internet challenges.
Internet challenges. Yes. Sometimes our Wi-Fi or internet fails. Okay. Any other
Power.
challenges?
Power will be another issue. I mean, there would be backups, but still, I mean, that would be a challenge, right?
Okay. Electricity. So if we have electricity and we complete our household duties, still there would be no challenges to complete the course.
Concentration
Concentration.
is a big challenge.
Huh?
I think believing is a really big challenge. You know, not being skeptical, because we do get taken over by our material beliefs. You know, we try to be skeptical of the knowledge that is presented to us. So I think believing is a very big challenge, and just taking in the knowledge as is.
Yes, yes, true. We have gathered throughout our lifetime so many opinions, right? We have gathered knowledge from so many other sources like television, newspapers, what our friends say, what our relatives say, something that we have seen on a TV program, and we have gathered so much of knowledge on our mind, and it has been captured. You know, the impressions have been captured in our mind like a camera. And now for us to read something that's pure may actually say that what we have learned previously from other sources was actually not right. For many years, we have probably believed that that was correct. And now suddenly from the Gita, we hear that, oh, actually that was not correct. So then which of the two is correct? That conflict may appear in our mind. Yes. But what we have to remember throughout this course, throughout this 18 months or the 18 chapters that we see, what we have to remember is that this Bhagavad Gita is spoken by Krishna himself. So there is no question of it being wrong. We cannot question, is it right or wrong? We have to remember that it is correct. But how it is correct, that we have to reconcile. Right? So we can always ask the question and try to understand that how is this correct? But we cannot question, is it right or wrong? It has to be right because it's spoken by Krishna himself. So this to remember throughout the course. Okay, this we have to remember throughout the course. Okay. Anybody else has anything else to say or add to this? These are interactive sessions.
So one thing is the mental state always, okay? So people are used to something, and now we are changing something, right? So one consideration always will remain what people will say, what others will say.
Yes, what others will say, exactly. Because when we take to transcendental knowledge, for every one person taking to spirituality, there will be 100 million people telling you don't do it. Because that's the current, isn't it? Everybody is flowing with the current. Not everybody takes to spirituality. So there will be many people who tell you that it's wrong. This is not the age. You are still young. It's not to be done now. Why now? Like that. So there will be so many people who will tell you that this is not the thing to be done. But then you have to go swim against the current. Yes, very nice.
Adi Bhautika. So it's like Adi Bhautika.
Adi Bhautika.
Yes, the problem by others. So if someone is telling something, it's like Adi Bhautika.
Yes, correct. True.
We should not, attract.
Yes, correct. We should always remember at all times what is the goal of what we are doing. We want to take the boat and cross over this ocean. If we are in the ocean and we don't take the boat, then what is going to happen? We are going to only sink into the ocean of birth and death. So birth again, death again, birth again, death again. Okay, anybody else has anything else to contribute on this subject matter? Okay, let's proceed. So here you see, anybody can interpret this picture? Who can interpret this picture?
I think I'm just guessing. Whenever we are leaving step by step, one thing, we are just going near to the God. Matlab, we are leaving envy. We are just going to little upper stage, one by one. Whenever we are leaving one thing, the bad things, envy, ignorance, false prestige. Finally, we will reach the good place.
Okay. Anybody else has any other interpretation of the picture?
So basically, the intention of this entire picture is to journey to Godhead. Okay, we can see the target here, but towards the journey to Godhead, there's a lot of obstacle we can see here. Ignorance, greed, lust.
Okay. Anybody else would like to interpret the picture?
Yeah, as a human being, we have some negative tendencies. So to reach the God, we have to polish ourselves. So we have to polish ourselves, and by discarding this envy, ignorance, jealousy, pride, and one by one, once we polish ourselves, we can reach to God.
Okay, very nice. So how do we polish ourselves?
First of all, to chanting Krishna's name.
Okay.
And by studying Krishna's philosophy and applying it in our life.
Okay. Very nice. Anybody else would like to interpret the picture?
Hello.
There is something happening in the middle of the picture. Somewhere in the middle of the picture, or a little above the middle of the picture, there is a choice that is being made. There are two personalities. One personality has turned his face towards his spiritual master, and the spiritual master is guiding him towards Godhead. And the other personality has turned his face towards the woman, and therefore he is coming down the steps towards where he is facing. Can you see that in the picture?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, you all know which part of the picture I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
So yeah, so that is the crossroads at which we are, right? And if we take the decision to look upwards, to accept the knowledge from a spiritual master and take the guidance and go back to Godhead, then we go upwards. But if we take to temptation and choose to come down, then that temptation is only going to drag us down towards
Attractions.
hellish existence. Yes. So you see that lady is attracting the man with jewelry and garlands and flowers and her beauty, but she's only dragging him down in the ocean of material existence. But whereas the spiritual master is elevating him and taking him towards the supreme goal. So this is a choice that we have to make. Are we going to slide down, or are we going to ascend? So all of you have already taken the decision to take the boat of transcendental knowledge. That is the reason why you have registered for the course, isn't it? So you have already taken the decision to take the boat of transcendental knowledge. Now the next challenge is going to be to stay on that boat, and not leave the boat midway. Okay. Can you read this for us, Disha?
Yeah. Mind is like a spoiled child. Hold your happiness hostage and demands that it desires to be fulfilled.
So as we proceed in the course, there are going to be so many challenges. The mind is going to always tell us that, no, I don't want to do this. Yes. But when we have a spoiled child who makes many demands, and we fulfill the desires of the child, is it going to worsen the situation, or is going to better the situation for us? What is going to happen? Is it good to fulfill all the demands of a spoiled child?
Definitely not better.
Yes, definitely it should not be done. Yes. Therefore, just like how we should not fulfill the demands of a spoiled child, we should not fulfill the demands of what our minds. We have to be above our mind. Okay. So therefore, in order to complete this study, just to come and attend this class week after week after week is going to require a lot of determination for all of us. Okay. So we have to be very, very determined to attend these classes. Of course, we have internet issues and other issues. So these are secondary things. But the choice to attend the class, that is for us to stick to throughout for the next 18 months at least. Okay. Somebody asked, how do I get this determination? Let us see the answer by His Grace Sankarshan Prabhu. Risha, can you read, please?
You had to get determination. You have no choice. You have no alternative. It is like someone in the Titanic asking, how can I get determination to get onto the lifeboat? You are in a sinking ship. You have no choice. Either to sink or to swim. You want to remain here or you want to get out of here. You have no other choice.
Okay. So let's take this example of somebody who's suffering from jaundice. When somebody is suffering from jaundice, when he takes sugar candy, the sugar candy is going to taste bitter, right? Because he has lost the taste. Because he's in a diseased condition, he cannot enjoy the sweetness of that sugar candy. But at least in the previous times, the only cure for jaundice was to take sugar candy. They would treat jaundice previously by sugar candy. So although it is bitter to take in the beginning because he's in a disease state, he still has to take the bitter medicine to be cured of that. Now, as he takes the medicine, although it is bitter, slowly, he gets his disease condition is going away. He's getting back his health. And now that same bitter medicine, that same sugar candy is going to taste very, very sweet. Why? Because now his disease has gone away. So in the same way, because we are materially diseased, we have material conceptions, it's possible that we do not like this knowledge. We may not really enjoy these sessions very much because we are in a disease condition. But if we continue to take the medicine, the very same bitter medicine later is going to taste as sweet as candy. So we have to make that choice. What are we going to do? Are we going to sink or are we going to swim? This is a decision that we have to take.
Swim.
Okay. So not only we have to swim against the current. As Supriyo said, we have to swim against the current because everybody is going in one direction, but we are taking the opposite direction. Risha, can you read the text?
It takes a strong fish to swim against the current. Even a dead one can float with it.
Okay. So let us try to understand the glories of the Bhagavad Gita before we proceed to the Gita, which we will not do today. We will do in another session. So let's read point 1.
If one understands the Bhagavad Gita in the appropriate manner, then he surpasses all studies of Vedic wisdom and all scriptures of the world.
So there are so many scriptures. There is Shastra and Shastra, and there are so many scriptures that are available to us. We have the 4 Vedas, we have the 108 Upanishads, we have the 18 Purana. So like that, there are so many scriptures, and it's probably not possible for us to read all of them in one human lifetime. But if we read the Bhagavad Gita, then we know exactly what we have to do to cross the ocean of material existence. Point 2, please.
Yeah, can everyone please mute themselves? The sound is very distracting.
Okay.
Point 2. One will find in the Bhagavad Gita all that is contained in other scriptures, but the reader will also find things that are not to be found elsewhere. This is the specific standard of the Gita.
Okay, I request all the participants to please mute yourselves.
Mataji, still disturbance is coming. Otherwise, you can mute that.
Yeah, I'll do that. 1 second. Okay, now. Okay, point 2, please. I'm sorry.
That's fine. Point number 2 again.
Yes.
One will find in the Bhagavad Gita all that is contained in other scriptures, but the reader will also find things that are not to be found elsewhere. This is the specific standard of the Gita.
So whatever is contained in the other scriptures is there in the Gita. And what is there in the Gita may not necessarily be in the other scriptures. That is the standard of the Bhagavad Gita. Although the Gita has only 700 shlokas, it has all that we need to know. The Gita is just like the manual of life. When we buy a new product, it comes with an instruction manual on how to use it, isn't it? Like that, for our human life, the Bhagavad Gita is our instruction manual. It tells us how we should use this human life. Point 3.
It is the perfect theistic science because it is directly spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna.
So theistic is the opposite of atheistic. An atheist is a person who does not believe in God, and a theist is a person who believes in God. So Bhagavad Gita is a perfect theistic science. Why is it perfect? Because it is directly spoken by God himself. No other scripture is directly spoken by God. Can you think of any scripture that is directly spoken by God? Okay, so let's go to point 4.
Shall I tell? Because the Islamic people, they also believe their Quran Sharif is spoken by the God, as well as the Bible. This is also they are saying that these are the words of the God Jehovah, or word of the whatever Parmeshwar God. They also say that their scriptures are the words of the God.
Yes, it's the word of God, but it is not directly spoken by God himself. The Quran is a compilation of the teachings of Prophet Muhammad, and it is compiled by his followers. Prophet Muhammad himself did not write the Quran, first of all, and the Quran and Prophet Muhammad never said that he is God. Even if Prophet Muhammad has directly spoken the Quran, he never said that he is God. He always said that he is the servant of God. Now coming to the Bible, Bible also is a compilation of the teachings of Jesus Christ by the followers of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ himself never spoke what is written in the Bible. So it is a compilation of the words of Jesus Christ, but it is done by his followers. And Jesus Christ never said that he is God. Jesus Christ always said that he is the Son of God. I'm not saying that they are wrong, okay? That we will discuss in the course of our study. But the difference between the Bhagavad Gita and the Bible and the Quran is that Gita is spoken by God himself. Krishna said that he is God. He showed the universal form, and he personally spoke the Bhagavad Gita. But Prophet Muhammad and Jesus Christ, first of all, they never said that they are God. They said that they are the Son of God and the messenger of God, and they have not directly spoken this. This was compiled by their followers, by their disciples. So that is the difference between these scriptures. Okay. Okay. Let's go to the next point.
In this age of Kali, it is very difficult to perform sacrifices recommended in Vedic scriptures. Also, vows, austerities, and penances are difficult to perform. Still, one can satisfy the Supreme Lord by a devotional recitation of the Gita.
So in our Shastras, in the Vedas, there are so many yagyas, so many ceremonies, so many religious do's and don'ts that are given. And for us in the age of Kali to perform all those sacrifices, all those yagyas, all those duties in one human lifetime may be difficult to perform. So we don't have to do all that to please Lord. The Lord can be pleased just by reciting the Bhagavad Gita. Just by reciting the Bhagavad Gita, we can please the Lord. Next.
Curses or effective black magic will not affect us if we regularly recite the Bhagavad Gita.
Yes, if we are regular reciters of Bhagavad Gita, if there's somebody who's trying to curse us or to conduct some kind of black magic, it will not work. Next.
While performing Shraddha, if one recites Bhagavad Gita, the ancestors will become happy, and if they are suffering in hell, they will ascend to the heaven. Not only Shraddha ceremony, but also any ceremony or ritual becomes glorious if it is accompanied by the chanting of Bhagavad Gita.
So we know what is the Shraddha, isn't it? Shraddha is the ceremony that we do for our departed ancestors. When a loved one passes away, we do the Shraddha ceremony. And if in that Shraddha ceremony one recites the Bhagavad Gita, then even our ancestors, they get an upgrade. We will see the universal setup, the setup of the universe and the different planetary systems during our course. But whichever planetary system they are situated in, if we recite the Gita and we dedicate it to our loved ones who have departed, then they will get an upgrade, they will get a spiritual upgrade. And so they will be happy and they will bless us. Okay.
If a person hears Bhagavad Gita at the time of death, all his sinful reactions are nullified and he becomes entitled to liberation.
Okay, so the time of death is the time of our final exam. All that we have done in our lifetime, everything culminates at the time of death. And Krishna says in the Gita that what you think of at the time of death, that is what decides your future journey, right? Existence does not end at death. The soul proceeds to the next destination. And what is the next destination of the soul? That depends on what we did at the time of death. So therefore, death is the time of our final exam. And if we can hear the Gita at the time of death, then our life is successful. Then our life is successful. So we have the art of living that is run by a very nice, it's a very noble job. Yes, very good. But the Bhagavad Gita teaches us the art of dying, how we can die successfully. Because death is the time of our final exam. That we will hear we will learn more as we do the Bhagavad Gita. So these are some of the glories of the Bhagavad Gita. Of course, there are many, many glories. And also there is a book called Gita Mahatmya. Okay, the Gita Mahatmya is from the Padma Purana. We have 18 Puranas. One of the 18 Puranas is Padma Purana. And Gita Mahatmya is one section of the Padma Purana. And in this section, Lord Shiva is glorifying the 18 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita to his wife Parvati. Okay, so because the Bhagavad Gita has 18 chapters, the Gita Mahatmya also has 18 chapters. So chapter 1 of Gita Mahatmya glorifies chapter 1 of the Bhagavad Gita. And Lord Shiva tells Parvati stories of how people were elevated by reciting that particular chapter of the Gita. And as we do the chapters, before we begin every chapter, we will do the story that is narrated by none other than Lord Shiva himself to Goddess Parvati. But that we will do when we do the chapters. Okay, so so much for the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita. Now let's try to understand what is human intelligence. Human intelligence involves one's power to reason, one's ability to solve problems, and one's ability to learn things or memorize things and retain it in our memory. So basically, human intelligence is measured by these IQ tests, right? IQ, we say, it's a very, very common term. And people with a high IQ are supposed to be more intelligent. Let's see, what is IQ?
IQ tests are famous for assessing logical, mathematical, and linguistic. Developed intelligence empowers one to gather, process, and analyze information effectively.
Okay, so much for IQ. IQ basically is the ability to logically solve the problems. So even a computer can solve problems. The computer can accept data, process the data, and give you the result. So of course, IQ is there in human beings as well, but IQ is also there in the computers. Computers know what the rules are and can follow them without making any mistakes. But now, over the time, there is something the scientists have discovered that is more important than the IQ. Higher than the IQ, they say, is EQ, emotional quotient. Let's read what is EQ.
EQ measures our interactions with the immediate environment. Those with high EQs are emotionally balanced, able to maintain composure in the chaos of life, and great at relating with people in appropriate and inspiring ways. A person overpowered by emotions fails to act intelligently. Volatile emotions hijack one's mental state and forces one to act irrationally. Hence, EQ is a basic requirement for effective use of IQ.
So basically, EQ involves managing our emotions appropriately. Now let's take the example. Somebody has a great IQ, is very, very intelligent. Yes. But now when he is going for a job in the office, he has a problem with his EQ. His emotional quotient is not very good, which means he probably has a problem with his boss, or he does not have the ability to work in an environment where there are other people around him, and he has a relationship issues with his colleagues. So although this person has a great IQ, because he has a weak EQ, he's not able to relate to other people. He doesn't know how to deal with them, and he has anger issues and other emotional issues, and he's not able to deal with other people or his boss. Then do you think that he's going to be able to stick to his job, although his IQ is very high? It's not going to happen. He's going to lose his job if he has a weak EQ. So IQ can get okay. Somebody has unmuted. Okay. So we'll take questions at the end. If you have a question, please keep it for the end of the class. Okay. So EQ is more important than IQ. An example of EQ is also animals. Yes, again, even the human beings have EQ, but even the animals, they have an EQ because they know how to respond to a danger situation. If they sense danger, they know how to move away or they know how to run away. So the computers are capable of IQ. Animals are capable of EQ. And we see here the EQ versus IQ is the heart-brain connection. One may be very brainy, but if he doesn't know how to keep his emotions in check, then he's going to have a problem sticking to his job. So a good IQ can help you in your school, right? You can have, you can get good grades when you are in school, but when you're at a job, you need a good EQ to stay at the job. Even if you have a low IQ, you can still stick to your job. So there is a research which says that for successful people, okay, let's read the text, Bishop.
The research shows that IQ can help you be successful to the extent of 20% only in life. The rest of 80% success depends on your EQ.
So EQ is more important than IQ. But now, beyond IQ and EQ, there is a third Q, which is SQ. And SQ is considered to be the ultimate intelligence. Can anybody say what is SQ? What can SQ mean?
Spiritual quotient?
Spiritual quotient, yes, very good, Disha. So spiritual quotient is SQ, and SQ is more important than both your IQ and EQ. So spiritual quotient deals with what or who I am, the purpose and the meaning of whatever we do. Okay, why we do is what SQ is all about. Let's read in detail.
While IQ and EQ help us to function in our present situations, SQ is all about thinking out of the box. People often come to the point where they begin to question life, the universe, and everything. Who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose? What should I strive for? And what will make me happy? By exercising their SQ, an individual can discover deeper meaning, purpose, and direction in life. Often, we're busily engaged in chasing things without seriously considering whether they are necessary, fulfilling, and really adding value. Our daily endeavors are usually focused on asking the question, how? But SQ is all about asking the question, why?
Okay, so SQ helps to build our capacity. So let's say we have a weak EQ. We have a problem with with our anger, or we are impatient, or we are frustrated, or we are fearful, if we have these weak emotions, but we have a strong SQ, then our SQ can help control our emotions. We can control our anger, we can overcome fear, we can overcome frustration if we are strong spiritually. So a good SQ will help us overcome a weak EQ. And of course, a good EQ will help us overcome a weak IQ. So therefore, beyond IQ and EQ is SQ. So these are the questions. A person with a good SQ asks such questions. Who am I? Where have I come from? What is the purpose of my life? Where will I go after death? Remember, death is not the end of our existence. So where will I go after death? Who is God? There are so many gods, right? So is it possible for one country to have so many presidents? Can there be so many controllers of one universe? So who ultimately is, each one says that, see, every salesperson says my product is the best, right? So everybody says the path that I'm following is the best. So if you take a step back and you try to analyze from a neutral point of vision, then who really is God? Everybody has their concept of God. So who is God? So these questions are asked by somebody who has a good SQ. Let's read the text.
Neither animals or computers can ask why we have these rules or this situation, or whether either could be different or better.
Okay. So an example of SQ is only human beings. Only a human being can ask this question as to why we have to do what we have to do. Animals and computers cannot ask this question. So SQ is only for us human beings. So SQ is something that synchronizes both IQ and EQ. If we have a weak IQ and a weak EQ and a good SQ, then the SQ can take care of our emotions and can take care of our intelligence. So we can synchronize both these other Qs with a good SQ. Okay. Now let's try to understand this with the example of an iceberg. The ocean has an iceberg. The iceberg that is visible above the water is only a small portion, isn't it? And the majority of the iceberg is below the water. So IQ is the seen part of the iceberg. What we can see externally in a person is his external intelligence. Yes, you can see that, oh, he calculates very nice, or somebody has a very good memory. He can remember things very well. So then that person has a good IQ. But what we don't see is the emotions within him. How can he deal with emotions, right? So that is the unseen part of the iceberg. And SQ is the entire ocean that holds the iceberg. So our spirituality can keep both our IQ and the EQ in check. It holds, the SQ holds both our IQ and the EQ. Now let's take this example of a person who wants to climb the wall. If she has a good IQ, what are the factors that she's going to consider to climb the wall? Can anybody answer?
The height of the ladder.
The height of the ladder. Very good, Disha. So the ladder should be long enough to be able to reach the top of the wall. What else does a person with good IQ consider?
Strong enough to bear his weight.
The ladder should be strong enough to bear the weight of the person. Okay, very good.
Can you pardon the question, please?
If the goal of a person is to climb up the wall and he has to bring his IQ, his intelligence quotient into play, what factors the person has to consider to be able to reach the top of the wall? So Disha said that she has to bring in a ladder which is long enough to reach the top of the wall. So the height of the ladder is one consideration. And Varsha said it should be strong enough to bear the weight of the person. Any other factors that the person with good IQ has to consider?
First, he is able to climb. First, he should be able to climb.
should be able to climb. Okay.
Especially
One
she
more
has to.
factor.
Also take
Okay.
into consideration whether the ladder can get her back down.
But that's not the goal. Her goal is to climb up the wall. The goal is not to come back again. Okay. The goal is to climb up the wall.
One more factor is how fast he can reach.
How fast? Okay. But that's
Yes.
not the goal. That's not the goal. The goal is to climb up the wall.
Principally, he has to see the support of the leader with the wall.
He
Whether the
has
wall
to,
is strong.
yes, exactly. He has to see, or rather he has to place the ladder at such an angle that the ladder is firm and can take him to the top. Okay, so these are all IQs, right? The angle of the ladder, the height of the ladder, the strength of the ladder, these are all the IQs. Now, EQ, let's consider the emotional quotient. How far does the EQ, what factors come into when it comes to the EQ?
There's no fear of falling.
No fear of falling. Yes, fear is an emotion, isn't it? So she has to overcome her fear of falling.
Maybe the person can think that it is too far and whether I will be able to reach or not. Why should I start?
So to overcome the fear of whether I will be able to reach or not, the doubts in the mind. Yes. Okay.
The confidence in her to climb the ladder and reach the top.
Yes, she has to be confident that she will be able to get to the top. Okay.
The intention
The intention
to get to the top.
Okay.
Perfectly climb.
What else? What if she's climbing up halfway? Then what can happen? If she's up halfway, then maybe the person is getting tired, physically tired, starting to sweat, starting to lose strength. So that person may get frustrated. Yes, he may become impatient and he may not get to the top. So this person has to overcome emotions like fear and impatience and frustration and physical tiredness in order. So this is where the EQ comes into play. Now,
And your determination.
Yes, determination. Yes, correct, determination. So after using her IQ and EQ, she gets to the top. But after she gets to the top, if she realizes that I have come up the wrong wall, I had to climb the other wall, not this wall. That's where the S comes into play. That question she should have asked before. Which wall do I have to climb? Or why do I have to climb this wall? If she would have asked those questions before and used her SQ, then her IQ and EQ would have not been wasted as now it has been wasted in this. So she has used her IQ and EQ to climb up the wall, fine, but it has all got wasted because she has climbed the wrong wall. She did not use her SQ in the correct place. Yes. So therefore, the SQ has to be put in its place properly, and then only with the proper SQ, then we can use our IQ and EQ appropriately. Otherwise, without the using SQ, IQ and EQ will get wasted. There is no point in being very intelligent, very good at memorizing things, very good at mathematical skills, and very good at keeping our emotions in check. If we do not use our SQ, then what's going to happen? We are going to be taking birth again. Again, we are going to become cats and dogs. Again and again, we are going to be in this ocean of material existence. So what is the use? That's the point. So let's summarize IQ, EQ, and SQ. IQ can give you academic success. We can do very good in our schools and colleges with IQ. But EQ gives us professional success. At our workplace, we need a good EQ. And SQ is going to give us success at attaining the goal of human life. If we want to attain the goal of going back to Godhead in this lifetime, then we need a good SQ. So IQ gets you hired, EQ gets you promoted, whereas SQ makes you eternally happy. Eternally happy. No more birth and death. So let's see a story of the scholar and the boatman. One second. Can you all see and hear?
No, we can't hear.
Okay, 1 second. Tell me if you can hear now. Cannot hear, right?
No, not yet.
I don't know why, because I shared the computer sound.
An interesting
Now?
story has been described by
Yeah.
our Satsuru Maharaj in the Vector Garden.
Can you hear now?
Yes.
The learned scholar and the boatman. The boatman in Bengal, there are many rivers, and the people generally transport by boat service. So, a learned scholar from Calcutta, say, was going home on a boat, and he was very happy. So he was asking the boatman, "My dear boatman, do you know what are these stars, these astronomy, how they are working?" "No, sir, I do not." "Ah, your life is 25% lost. You do not know it." Then after some time, you know the geology, how these earth, water, they are working. He said, "No, sir, I am poor man, what can I know?" "No, you are 50% of your life, you know." Then, all of a sudden, there was a cloud, black cloud on the sky, and there was storm. Then at that time, the boatman asked, said, "Do you know how to swim?" "No, I do not know." "Then 100% you are lost." "You are going to be drowned." He jumped and he drowned. So this is the point. So you are trying to understand the whole analytical study of the material world. That is very good. But if you do not know how to remember Narayan at the time of death, then you are going to be cats and dogs. That's all.
So this was a story of the scholar and the boatman, as narrated by Srila Prabhupada. So what did we learn from the story? What did we learn from the story? Nobody wants to comment?
Name of God. That all your textual knowledge would not come in handy.
Okay.
At the time of death.
Okay. If
someone should know that in what situation, what knowledge is required, and the death, particularly for the end of the life, the person should have that type of knowledge where he can swim and he can get the end of the life, you know.
So again, we see the same comparison. No? To swim across the ocean, you should know how to swim. Are you going to swim or are you going to sink? So one may be a great scholar, one may have a lot of opulences, one may have a lot of wealth, one may have a lot of material knowledge, one may be very, very beautiful, own many properties, one may be very powerful, one may be very famous. But all these opulences are not going to help us if we do not know how to remember the Lord at the time. Because what does it mean? It means at death, if we do not remember Narayan, then again we are going to take birth. Again we are going to be cats and dogs, or take birth as plants and trees, ants, insects. So what is the point in having all those opulences because anyway, all those opulences are going to be taken away from us at the next life. We cannot carry forward all those opulences to the next life, but we can carry forward our spiritual bank balance to the next life. And Krishna says that in our whatever we accumulate in our spiritual bank balance, we take that to our next lifetime. Whatever we accumulate spiritually, we carry on from where we left off. If we leave this lifetime, even if we cannot perfect our lifetime in this lifetime, yes, we will carry on from where we left off. If we stop today at 20% at the time of death, then in the next lifetime, we carry on from 21%. So our spiritual bank balance, we take to the next lifetime. But material bank balance, we cannot take anything to the next lifetime. So even if we cannot perfect ourselves in this lifetime, still we have nothing to lose because we carry on from where we leave off. That is the Lord's special one. Okay. So what is the purpose of the systematic study of the Bhagavad Gita? Why are we doing what we are doing? Point that we are trying to come to. The purpose of the systematic study of the Bhagavad Gita is to equip you with tools to enhance your essence. That is the whole purpose of the systematic study. This is the reason why we are doing what we are doing, to equip you with tools to enhance your essence. Okay? And if you, in order for you to get these tools to enhance your rescue, it's very important that you stay on the boat of transcendental knowledge. You have to stay on. So we welcome you all to the systematic study of the Bhagavad Gita. Now, one may question as to why to read only the Bhagavad Gita as there are so many Bhagavad Gitas, so many philosophers, so many Sanskrit scholars across the world have translated the Bhagavad Gita. So why only the Bhagavad Gita as it is? What is so glorious about this particular Bhagavad Gita? In order to know the glories of the Bhagavad Gita as it is, we need to understand the glories of the author, the one who has translated. So the glory of Srila Prabhupada. We need to understand a little bit about Srila Prabhupada in order to understand the glories of the Bhagavad Gita as it is. So let's read this.
A word about His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. In 1965, an elderly man from India came to the United States to fulfill a promise to his spiritual master to preach Krishna consciousness in the West. Unbelievably, in a matter of only a few short years, he and his followers had built a worldwide religious movement of nearly 5,000 initiated disciples and tens of thousands of followers and supporters. Moreover, many millions of books and other pieces of spiritual literature have been distributed in every corner of the world. It is important that we try to understand the charisma and spiritual potency of ISKCON's founding leader, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Born Abhay Charan Day in Calcutta, Srila Prabhupada was educated at the prestigious local Scottish Church College. Before adopting the life of a pious renunciant, he was married with children and owned a small pharmaceutical business. In 1959, he took a vow of renunciation, sannyasa, and started writing commentaries on Vaishnava scriptures. As a founder of ISKCON, he emerged as a major figure of the Western counterculture, initiating thousands of young Americans. He was a charismatic leader in the sense used by sociologist Max Weber, as he was successful at acquiring followers in the United States, Europe, India, and elsewhere. CNN cites him on their top 10 list of wildly successful people.
Okay. So let's try to understand some important events from Srila Prabhupada's life. This was when Srila Prabhupada met his spiritual master for the first time. He was initially married and he was leading a grihastha life, and he had his pharmaceutical business. And then the turning point of his life was when he met his spiritual master for the first time.
Abhay Charan was one of the students who gave up his English education and joined Gandhi's movement. He started wearing khadi. But in 1922, Abhay Charan met his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, and this changed the course of his life. A close friend of Srila Prabhupada, Narendranath Mulik, insisted he come and meet a sadhu from Mayapur. Initially, Srila Prabhupada was reluctant to go. There were many bogus sadhus, and Srila Prabhupada had very bad experience with them. But his friend insisted. Together, they entered the ashram where, sitting with his back very straight, they found Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, a studious-looking man wearing sannyasa robes and small round spectacles. Srila Prabhupada and his friend both bowed down on the floor before him. While the two young men were still rising and preparing to sit, and before any introduction had occurred, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta immediately said to them, "You are educated young men. Why don't you preach the message of Krishna all over the world?" Srila Prabhupada could hardly believe what he had just heard. They had not even exchanged any words, yet the sadhu was telling them what they should do. He asked him, "But who will hear your message, so long as we are a dependent country? First, India must become independent. How can we spread our Indian culture if we are under British rule?" Srila Bhaktisiddhanta replied in a quiet, deep voice, "The message of Krishna cannot wait for a change in Indian politics. It is not dependent on who ruled. The teachings of Bhagavad Gita are so important, so exclusively important, that it cannot wait." Walking away from the ashrama, Narendranathan asked, "Abhay, what is your impression? What do you think of this sadhu?" Srila Prabhupada replied, "The message of Bhagavad Gita is in the hands of a very expert person."
So yes, when Prabhupada met Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur for the first time, of course, at that time he had not formally taken initiation, but in the very first meeting, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati asked him to go and preach this knowledge in the West. And then in 1933, Prabhupada formally accepted Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur as his spiritual master. So this was a formal initiation. And then because his spiritual master had given him the instruction to preach to the West, Srila Prabhupada, when he was on the verge of his 69th birthday, he decided to set sail to America. Let's read the details.
On the verge of his 69th birthday, on August 13th, 1965, Srila Prabhupada set out for America. He got a free ticket to travel to New York from the proprietor of Scindia Steamship Company, SMT Sumati Morarji. He was the only passenger on board that small weathered cargo ship named Jaladuta. In his possession were a suitcase, an umbrella, a supply of dry cereal, about $7 worth of Indian currency, approximately 40 rupees, and several boxes of books.
So when Prabhupada set sail to America, he went there on a free ticket. Somebody gave him a free ticket, Srimati Sumati Morarji. She was the owner of the steamship company. So upon request, she gave him a free ticket. It was not a passenger ship, right? It was a goods ship, cargo ship. And what did Prabhupada carry with him on the ship? What did he have with him?
An umbrella, dry cereal,
a suitcase, an umbrella, and supply of dry cereals, and $7 currency.
Yes. So did he have money? Did he have friends? Did he have contacts? Did he have acquaintances? Did he even have youth? He did not even have youth by his side. He was 69 years old, right? So Prabhupada actually, materially speaking, he had nothing going for him, and he was going to spread an international movement. He was going to the West, what Krishna consciousness is all about. So then let's have.
When the Jaladuta arrived in New York Harbor 37 days later, Srila Prabhupada was utterly alone. He had come to America knowing no one, with absolutely no visible means of support, and with only the meager handful of possessions he had carried on board the ship. He had no money, no friends, no followers, not his youth, good health, or even a clear idea of how he could accomplish his far-reaching objective to present the spiritual knowledge of the Vedas to the entire Western society.
Okay. So after a 38-day journey, Prabhupada reached America. Before the ship reached New York, the ship docked in Boston for some time. We have somebody from Boston here?
Me.
Who? Who is this me?
Visha.
You're in Boston, is it?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay. Yes, you told me. True. So yes, the ship docked at Boston before it went on to New York. And when the ship docked at Boston, the captain of the ship invited Prabhupada to come out for shopping. The captain was going shopping, and he invited Prabhupada to accompany him. And that was Prabhupada's first view of the Western culture. And after he came back, he composed a poem. And that poem is written in Prabhupada's book. Prabhupada, throughout his journey on the Jaladuta, he maintained a personal diary. Okay. So after he saw the Western civilization for the first time, he composed a poem in his diary called as Markine Bhagavad Dharma. Today we will hear that, and we will also read that thing in order to see the mood in which Prabhupada went. So anyway, coming back to Prabhupada's major life event, let's see, after he landed, then what happened?
Not knowing anyone, he thought, I am an old man. I cannot do very much. But what I can do, let me do in New York City, which is the biggest of all cities in the world. He maintained himself by selling just enough books to get by and staying here and there.
So he was staying here and there, and he was selling some books to maintain himself. And there was a time when he was staying in a windowless room. It was actually an office, right? There was no facility to cook, and there was no facility for him to even have a bath. So every day he had to walk 7 blocks to have his daily bath and to cook one meal for himself. And when he was on the boat Jaladuta, he suffered 2 massive heart attacks on 2 days. 2 consecutive days, he suffered 2 massive heart attacks. So even health was not on his side. Like that, for 1 year, Prabhupada was very severely tested by Krishna. He underwent a lot of struggles for almost a year. And then finally, in 1966, Prabhupada officially registered the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, or what we know as ISKCON. So the scriptures also predicted the appearance of Prabhupada. Prabhupada is that personality whose appearance has been predicted in even the Shastra. Let us read that.
Srila Prabhupada's appearance and accomplishments are a turning point not only in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, but in the very history of human civilization. It is not surprising that they were predicted many centuries ago. The Holy Bible states, unless I go away, the counselor will not come to you, but if I go, I will send him to you. When he comes, he will convict the world of guilt in regard to sin and righteousness and judgment. In regard to sin, because men do not believe in me. In regard to righteousness, because I am going to the Father, where you can see me no longer. I have much more to say to you, more than you can now bear. But when he, the Spirit of truth, comes, he will guide you into all truth.
So here even the Bible has predicted the appearance of Srila Prabhupada. Let's read more.
In the Bhagavad Mahatmya, in the Uttarakanda, please excuse my pronunciation, of the Padma Purana, Bhakti personified tells Narad Muni that after traveling through several places in India, she reached Vrindavan. Then she declares her resolution of leaving from Vrindavan to go to foreign countries. Idam sthanam parityajya videsham gamyate maya. Leaving this place, I will go abroad. In the Sri Chaitanya Bhagavata, Lord Chaitanya declares, Prithvi Paryatna Yata Achedesa Grama Sarvatra Sanchara Haibeka Mora Nama. In every town and village of the world, the chanting of my name will be heard. In the Chaitanya Mangala, Lord Chaitanya clearly mentions that he will send his leader preacher abroad. Ebe Nama Sankirtana Diksta Kadayana Antara Asura Jivera Peliba Katya Yadi Papi Chadi Dharma Duradese Yaya Mora Senapati Bhakta Yaibe Tataya. Taking the sharp word of the congregational chanting of the holy name, I will root out and destroy the demoniac mentality in the hearts of the conditioned souls. If some sinful people escape and giving up religious principles go too far off countries, then my commander-in-chief, Senapati Bhakta, will appear to chase them and distribute Krishna consciousness. In more recent days, Srila Bhakti Vinoda Thakura and Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati also predicted the propagation of the Sankirtana movement. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura wrote in Sajana Tosi volume of 1885, Lord Chaitanya did not advent himself to liberate only a few men in India. Rather, his main objective was to emancipate all living entities of all countries throughout the entire universe and preach the eternal religion. There is no doubt that this unquestionable order will come to pass. Very soon, the unparalleled path of Harinama Sankirtana will be propagated all over the world. Oh, for that day when the fortunate English, French, Russian, German, and American people will take up banners, mridangas, and karatalas and raise kirtana through their streets and towns. When will that day come? That day will witness the holy transcendental ecstasy of Vaishnava Dharma to be the only Dharma, and all the sects and religions will flow like rivers into the ocean of Vaishnava Dharma. When will that day come?
Yeah, so much for the predictions of how this holy name is going to be chanted in every town and village. And that is what Prabhupada has done. Okay. So now we will hear, and you can follow along the text. This text is, as I said, the poem that Prabhupada wrote after the ship docked in Boston and he had the first view of the Western culture. He actually composed this poem in Bengali in his diary, and then later he himself translated it into the English language. So this translation is also by Prabhupada himself. So let's hear this.
Marking a Bhagavad Dharma by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, at Boston Harbor, September 18th, 1965. My dear Lord Krishna, you are so kind upon this useless soul, but I do not know why you have brought me here. Now, you can do whatever you like with me. But I guess you have some business here. Otherwise, why would you bring me to this terrible place? Most of the population here is covered by the material modes of ignorance and passion. Absorbed in material life, they think themselves very happy and satisfied, and therefore they have no taste for the transcendental message of Vasudeva. I do not know how they will be able to understand it. But I know your causeless mercy can make everything possible, because you are the most expert mystic. How will they understand the mellows of devotional service? O Lord, I am simply praying for your mercy, so that I will be able to convince them about your message. All living entities have become under the control of the illusory energy by your will. And therefore, if you like, by your will, they can also be released from the clutches of illusion. I wish that you may deliver them. Therefore, if you so desire their deliverance, then only will they be able to understand your message. The words of Srimad Bhagavatam are your incarnation. And if a sober person repeatedly receives it with submissive oral reception, then he or she will be able to understand your message. One will become liberated from the influence of the modes of ignorance and passion, and thus all inauspicious things accumulated in the core of the heart will disappear. But how will I make them understand this message of Krishna consciousness? I am very unfortunate, unqualified, and the most fallen. Therefore, I am seeking your benediction, so that I can convince them, for I am powerless to do so on my own. Somehow or other, O Lord, you have brought me here to speak about you. Now, my Lord, it is up to you to make me a success or failure as you like. O spiritual master of all the worlds, I can simply repeat your message. So if you like, you can make my power of speaking suitable for their understanding. Only by your causeless mercy will my words become pure. I am sure that when this transcendental message penetrates their hearts, they will certainly feel engladdened and thus become liberated from all unhappy conditions of life. O Lord, I am just like a puppet in your hands. So if you have brought me here to dance, then make me dance, O Lord, make me dance as you like. I have no devotion, nor do I have any knowledge, but I have strong faith in the holy name of Krishna. I have been designated as Bhaktivedanta, and now, if you like, you can fulfill the real purport of Bhaktivedanta. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
And he signs the letter saying, sign the most unfortunate, insignificant beggar, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, on board the ship Jaladuta, Commonwealth Tire, Boston, Massachusetts, USA, dated 18 September 1965. So this poem very beautifully captures Srila Prabhupada's first impressions of Western civilization, isn't it? What else do we learn from this poem of Prabhupada? What does it show? What was Prabhupada's
He
state
has
of
left everything. He has left everything to God, Lord Krishna. His success, his failure, or the task for what he was there. Okay, he's left it to God. Now
Yes.
it's in your hands to make me successful or no.
Yes. So it shows how Prabhupada is completely dependent on Krishna's mercy for his success or failure. He's showing his complete dependence on God.
Complete surrender.
Complete surrender. Yes, he's completely surrendered to the will of the Lord. And
his humbleness.
His humility. Yes, Prabhupada's humility comes across so very nicely in this poem. Yes. What else do we learn from this? We also see how
The trust on Lord.
Trust, his firm faith on the Lord, and the firm faith he has in the instruction of his spiritual master. Remember, he is doing this because his spiritual master gave him that instruction in the very first meeting, that I want you to go to the Western world and preach in the English language. So he had this instruction in his heart, and at the age of 69, he has gone there with no material assets, no youth, no health, no money, no contacts, absolutely nothing. But he has the firm faith on the instruction of his guru and also on the mercy of the Lord. Because when the spiritual master gives us an instruction, along with the instruction, the spiritual master also gives us the blessings to fulfill that instruction. So it's not an ordinary thing to receive an instruction from the spiritual master. When the guru gives us an instruction, with the instruction, he also gives us the blessing or the ability to be able to carry out that instruction, although it may seem to be an impossible task. Our duty is only to try to fulfill it. That's all we have to do, just to try. The ability is given by the spiritual master, and of course, ultimately, Krishna. Okay, with this, we will end today's session. And it's now time for question and answer. So if you have any questions from today's session or even otherwise, please ask.
I had one doubt.
Yes.
Whenever we read Bhagavad Gita, our ancestors who are already before death, they will go to the upper positions. Actually, we used to say, but once the person is dead, immediately the birth will also happen. No, how they will, gain heaven?
Immediately the birth will not happen. They spend some time. See, it depends on, it's like a judgment that is passed. See, a criminal, when he goes to the court of law, either he's awarded or he is punished. So like that, the soul, if the soul was a sinful soul, then the soul has to undergo some punishment. That's why we have the hellish planets, or the soul may enjoy in the heavenly planets for an extended period of time. So that that phase has to happen before the soul can take the next body. So if our ancestors are in the lower planetary systems or even in the higher planetary system, it's not a very great thing to enjoy in the heavenly planets, because once the spiritual credit runs out, that person has to again take birth. So yes, he is enjoying in heaven, but only as long as the credits last. It's like you can enjoy in a 5-star hotel only as long as you're going to be able to pay the bills. Once your thing runs out, then you have to come back again. So our ancestors, irrespective whether they are in the hellish or the heavenly planets, they will get a transcendental upgrade if we recite the Gita and dedicate it to them. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one question, madam. I have not read the Bhagavad Gita, but still the related question I have. So
Yes.
we call something called mukti. So when we say mukti is like I don't have the next generation, means I again I will not born it. It's like I'm getting into the Krishna. That is what they call it as. So when you say when somebody is dying, the Bhagavad Gita, they hear it, they get the upgradation, they get the mukti, or they get something else.
No, they can get mukti, they can get liberation. See, we have to be surrendered. Even if you surrender for one moment before death, then we can go back to the spiritual world. And it all depends on what we hear at the time of death. When, let's say, a person who's dying, okay, the other senses fail first. He cannot open his eyes, right? And he cannot eat, but his hearing is still there. So the hearing is the last that fails to function at the time of death. So because a person can hear, the sound vibration of that person at the time of death will determine what his next life is, if his consciousness is already not into the Lord. For a devotee, he's already in God consciousness. So even if he's in coma, in his consciousness, he is thinking about the Lord, right? But for a non-devotee, because he has not practiced spirituality throughout his lifetime, we can help him by playing something so that it enters the ears. And the hearing is the last sense to die, as we discussed. So by playing the Gita, yes, he can go back to the spiritual world. You have to play it really loud, and it has to be very close to the ears, because his hearing, he can hear, but it is diminished greatly for a person who's on his deathbed. So we can help him. He can get moksha.
So when we say moksha, in Bhagavad Gita, we say that again that next generation will be there, right? So he will again get into another Atma. When I say moksha, it is like there is no further janma, right?
Yes,
So
moksha
I'm confused between these two. So moksha, when I say, it is like I'm getting linked with the Krishna or the God. So it is no question of next janma or anything. So what is the better one, or what is that it will happen?
No, see, moksha means no more birth and death. The Atma, the soul, goes into the spiritual world, and the soul doesn't have to come back again. There is no more birth for the soul in the material world. The people who are taking birth in the material world are those souls who have not yet got moksha. Moksha means no more birth and death.
Thank
Okay.
you, ma'am. That's my question.
Okay. Any more questions?
Ma'am, I have a lot of ISKCON followers from my family and my friends, and right now also throughout the PPT presentation, even you people mentioned that Krishna does test his followers. Is it true?
Krishna does what? I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
Test his followers.
Oh yes, not only Krishna, of course, the followers, yeah, our determination is always going to be tested to see how sincere are we. Do we really want it? Do we really need it? Are we going to, yes, our determination will be tested. The more we advance spiritually, the more our determination is tested, because we have to really want it to get it. We have to really want it to get it.
So we have to show him that we really want him and we really love him, right?
Yes, exactly.
We have to prove it to him. Okay, ma'am. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for your really it is initiations and very appreciating. I enjoyed the class. Really, it is something new for me to start with the Prabhupadas and Hare Krishna's Hari Bol. And I should take permission to leave the class.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for your time. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So anybody else has a question?
Hare Krishna. One more question I have, madam.
Yes.
So the people say that the sins which we do, okay, that I get the punishment in this Janma itself, or some people say that whatever the sins you are doing, that is the reason why you are getting that punishment in your next Janma. Which is the correct statement?
Okay, both statements are correct. Sometimes we pay for our sins in this lifetime. Sometimes we pay for the sins in the next lifetime. Sometimes we pay for the sins after millions of lifetimes. So some sins we cannot say which sin we are paying when. That we don't know. We can pay in this lifetime or in the next million lifetimes. That is the law of karma. That we cannot calculate. That is impossible to do. So both statements are correct. Sometimes in one lifetime, we cannot pay all our sins. The sins are so much that one lifetime is very less to pay for all our sins. So therefore, we have to wait for more lifetime. In the Mahabharata, there is a story of Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra once asked Krishna, why did I have to suffer and see the death of my 100 sons? For a father to see the death of his son is very, very painful. And Dhritarashtra said, I had to see the death of my 100 sons. So what did I do to deserve this? What bad karma did I do to deserve this? So then Krishna tells him that actually 50 lifetimes before, you had killed the birds in a nest. You had caused the nest to fall and the birds, the eggs to break and die. And because of that, you had the karma for that you paid by seeing the death of your 100 sons 50 lifetimes before. And then Dhritarashtra said, okay, I did it. I had to suffer for it. But why after 50 lifetimes? Why did I have to wait 50 lifetimes? So then he said that because you had to first, the karma was to see the death of 100 sons. But to have 100 sons, you have to accumulate good karma first. No, not anybody can have 100 sons in one lifetime. So to accumulate the good karma to have 100 sons in one lifetime, he had to wait for 50 lifetimes. So 50 lifetimes, he had to accumulate good karma to get 100 sons. And then when he got the 100 sons, he had to pay for that karma. So it can be in this lifetime, it can be in the future lifetimes. That we both statements are correct.
Thank you so much, madam. Hare Krishna. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. Any more questions?
Sam, thank you very much. It was a wonderful.
Thank you. I'm glad you liked it. I'm sorry if there have been disturbances, and it's also my first class, and we will try to improve over time. Somebody wrote in the group that they cannot understand the accent of the speaker. So I'm sorry, I cannot help my accent. I'll try and do my best.
Sorry, ma'am, not yours. The lady who is reading, no? Us.
Okay. Anyway, it doesn't matter because we all have our accents because we are all from different parts of the world, but our goal is
I
one.
understand.
Yes, our goal is
Yes,
one.
yes.
Yes. So we have to
I completely agree to that, but the thing is that we are going to go further, then it's difficult, no?
Okay. Anyway, we have different volunteers for every class. It's voluntary.
Okay.
So we
Thank
have
you
to,
so much.
yeah. And even if we don't understand the accent, the text is on our screen for us to follow, right? So
Okay.
yeah, we can do the best we can. Okay. What else? Any other questions? So if there are no questions, we can end today's session.
Thank you so much, madam. My session. Hare Krishna.
Thank you all very much. Hope to see
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Savitri will get it.
I don't know.